Today there are a lot of updates from the Bakhmut direction. The most intensive fights are taking place on the northern flank of Chasiv Yar. Here Russian forces conducted a series of powerful mechanized assaults and officially started their next great battle, the battle for Chasiv Yar. Russian forces seem to have thrown every unit at their disposal, professionals and newly mobilized soldiers alike, because while some Russian assault units coordinated well, others had such disastrous coordination that most of them died due to friendly fire. Last time I told you how Russians managed to advance along the railways and reach the small forest just 500 meters away from the stronghold. According to the freshest updates, Russians tried to maintain their pace of advancement with the aim of entering Chasiv Yar from the east. In order to set conditions for the next wave of assaults, Russians conducted artillery preparation on the Ukrainian trenches and bombed the surrounding Ukrainian defensive positions with glide bombs. After suppressing Ukrainian fire, Russians sent ahead a column of infantry fighting vehicles with infantrymen on board into assault. Russians sent forward a column of 8 BMP infantry fighting vehicles, which is twice as much as before. The vehicles tried to keep their distance from each other while maintaining high speed on the road, which made them harder to target by Ukrainian artillery fire. As the assault group got closer, it split into 2 units, where one BMP drove directly to the town. This lone BMP was deployed as a decoy in order to divert the focus of the Ukrainian fire from the main assault group. The lone BMP that drove to Chasiv Yar was subsequently destroyed by artillery fire once it stopped, but it managed to dismount an assault squad of Russians, which quickly found themselves under fire as well. The suicide squad was too small, with only around 7 troops that a BMP could carry. Even if they were not killed by the Ukrainian strikes, other units could not resupply them due to intensive fire, and it would not be worth the risk of more losses to save a squad, so the Russian troops were left on their own and were likely killed. Meanwhile, the other 7 BMPs dismounted their infantry in the small forest. From here, Russians would try to take control of the forest in order to continue their attempt at taking control of the canal district. Combat footage reveals that in one such assault, 3 BMPs were trying to flee from Ukrainian artillery. Even though all 3 vehicles successfully dismounted their infantry, the Russian soldiers were immediately targeted by Ukrainian precision strikes. To make things worse, Russian Sukhoi 25 close air support aircraft bombed their own forces by accident, minimizing the chances of survival of Russian troops to 0. This displays a lack of coordination and poor communication. Due to complex Russian bureaucracy and centralized command with long decision-making, it takes up to 4 hours for air support to arrive on strike at designated targets, which in most cases are relocated by that time. So by the time the Russian close air support conducted the airstrike, the Russian ground forces moved into the targeted zone in trying to adjust to the fighting conditions. Furthermore, the centralized decision-making in relation to the deployment of air support cuts off regular units from regular soldiers and their platoon leaders from having any form of communication with close air support, thus preventing them from calling off air support that can endanger friendly forces. Ukrainians knew that Russians would launch direct frontal assaults on the town and dug trenches in front of high-rise buildings and along Zelenaya and Gorbatova streets, while camouflaged observation points were set up in high-rise buildings for correction of artillery fire and guidance of drone strikes. While Russians did manage to enter eastern parts of Chasiv Yar, it was just temporary, and their only realistic gains are the positions within the forest. The Russian goal is to establish control of the canal district of the town, but such head-on assaults on the town would be unsustainable, and it is questionable if Russians can bypass positions that were being fortified for months in advance due to high-rise buildings and trenches at virtually every corner of the town district. Many Russian analysts admitted that Russians will not try to cross the canal and in the best-case scenario will stop at the canal district and focus on expanding their control northward and southward in trying to secure Bodanivka and Ivanevska. The Russian assaults on the canal district, therefore, are meant to distract Ukrainian forces and prevent them from asserting fire control from high-rise buildings. The distraction of Ukrainian forces and the suppression of their fire is essential for achieving any progress in and around Bodanivka, because so far, Russians have proved unable to take it in front. If Russian forces manage to establish complete control over the two villages, they will be used as a staging ground for Russian flank attacks on Chasiv Yar from the northern direction of Bogdanivka and from the southern direction of Ivanivska. However, launching the attacks across the canal is an incredibly hard endeavor. Given that this geographical barrier is located in front of Ukrainian fortifications in the residential areas, the success rate of any potential assault here would be close to zero. If you're against the invasion of Ukraine and you want to support the work that I am doing, consider making a purchase in the online store UA Supporter. Here you can find a lot of products with Ukrainian symbols to not only show your support for this channel, but also for Ukraine. The link to the online store is in the description. Thank you for watching this report, and I will see you in the next one.